with Donnie Adams, who has been teaching for 16 years in both Hardeman and Shelby County schools. Could you please share with us your teaching experience in both those districts?
Okay, in 2004, I began teaching at Grand Junction Elementary. I was a sixth grade self-contained teacher, so I taught all subject areas. In 2006, I moved over to Middleton High School, where I was their eighth grade reading teacher, and then I was the eighth grade English teacher, and then I designed a computer literacy class for the eighth grade. And after that, I was brought out of the classroom to be the RTI lead and instructional coach for Middleton High School. In 2016, I moved to Shelby County. I taught seventh grade for 2 years, and then moved to the eighth grade, and have been teaching eighth grade for 2 years, and I'm the middle school RTI lead there.
Okay. When you, I did this with the last question. What are some of the qualities that you think are most important in a new teacher?
I feel like that a new teacher really needs to develop listening skills. As a new teacher, many people will encourage communication, but really what they need is to learn to listen and take everything in, because they'll be listening to admin, they will listen to their students, they'll listen to their parents, and it takes a couple of years of teaching before you really truly develop your own voice as a teacher for that full communication.
Okay. What do you do to ensure open communication between you and the teachers that you are mentoring?
I feel like honesty is probably the most important aspect of the communication that I have with my teachers. They know that when I talk to them, I'm going to tell them exactly what I see, what I need from them, and they know that they can be honest with me. So that open line of communication that includes honesty, not sugarcoating things, not la la la. It's very honest.
Why do you think that's most important?
I think we get wrapped up into the Pinterest school teacher, and we look at the fluff and we forget about the backbone of education. And so I try to make sure that when I speak to a teacher, I'm talking to them from a place where I would want to be spoken to. I don't want to be talked to about all the pretty stuff. I want to be talking about the meat and the guts of education and what I do in the classroom. And so I think that's the reason why it's more important.
Okay. How often do you meet with your mentee to discuss plans and what's going on?
In the past, when I was in Hardeman County at Middleton High School, I would meet with my teachers maybe 3 times a week, and there was a lot of time one-on-one during their planning time, sitting down and really talking to them about standards and activities and things at work. Since I've moved to Shelby County, I don't have that kind of time. It's not allotted as well. And so maybe once a week, I get to spend with my mentees.
How important do you think it is to have those regular meetings with your mentees?
Oh gosh, it's so important, because if you're really mentoring a teacher, you should be on the planning side as well as discussing how it went afterwards. So that's at least twice a week. That's at least sitting down and really hashing it all out, maybe stepping in the classroom to watch them, so that you're talking at least twice, and the teachers grow from that. Any less than that, they're going to become stagnant.
What do you think is like the most ideal situation with a mentor and a mentee, as far as grade level, content? Obviously we already touched on it, but time to meet and plan. What's the most ideal situation?
Well, I would think to be the most effective mentor, I would have to have the knowledge of the subject that teacher is going to be teaching. So as an English teacher, even though I have taught math in the past, and I'm fairly confident in my math skills, I would not want to step into a math classroom and try to direct a math teacher on how to do her job. I think that as a mentor who is an English teacher, an English class and a social studies class would be more fitting for me. Again, with the timing, I think on the front end for the planning, on the back end for going over how things went. So you're talking at least twice a week.
Mhm.
And then, of course, age appropriate, grade appropriate. I'm an 8th grade English teacher. There's no way that I could mentor an elementary classroom, none. And vice versa. I just don't think it's fair because that's two different entities.
What do you think gets lost, the more effective for the mentor and the mentee to have the same subject area?
Well, the content area, knowledge of the content area is so important. That is the backbone of the lesson. And so if I don't have a firm understanding of what should be going on or what that lesson should look like or the outcome of that lesson, then I'm not going to be able to give that teacher the appropriate feedback. I can talk about classroom management, and I can talk about, aligning to standards, but I honestly would still not know if the lesson that teacher is planning is truly showing standards mastery. So I think there's a loss there across content area.
Okay. What are your general goals when you go in to observe a teacher?
My general goal is to find the teacher's strength. I'm not there to break a teacher down. I'm there to identify the teacher's strengths so that we can build on that. This is what you're good at. These are the small things that we can set goals to, create a plan to make this better. But helping a teacher find their strength, I think, is the most important thing. It takes away that negativity that they feel about having someone in their classroom.
Mm-hmm. Okay. After you go in to observe your teacher, how soon do you want to meet with them to discuss that observation, or do you even think that's important?
Oh no, you definitely have to provide the feedback. At one time, I would have thought that immediate feedback, the same time, the same day, was the most important thing, that this is, very valuable. But what I've learned, giving the teacher some written feedback and giving that teacher some time to reflect over what I saw versus what they thought they did, or how I saw the students versus how they thought the students were performing, and then come back together at a later date. So in the past, I have discovered that if I give them a written outline about how things went, give them a couple of days, usually generally 48 hours, and then come back and have a sit down and then debrief then.
Was there something that happened to make you realize that little bit longer of a time period was more effective?
Yes, when I was in Hardeman County, one of the teachers that I was assigned to became very defensive. As soon as her lesson was over, if we went to talking about it and me providing feedback, she would be very defensive about it. She wasn't ready to hear. She wasn't ready to look at it. So I thought about it, spoke to the principal, and that's where we came up with the plan that I would provide her with written feedback and then verbal feedback in a sit-down meeting type setting.
Okay. With your the two different places where you have worked, is there a difference between the mentoring that you were able to do in Hardeman County compared to the mentoring you're able to do in Shelby County?
I think that I had, in both settings, I've had freedom. The principals have trusted me to do my job. In Hardeman County, however, there was a lot more interaction with the principal. She was very receptive to the information that I was giving her, and we would actually sit down and talk about the teachers' evaluations or walkthroughs, things that I could help with. In Shelby County, I have not had that participation with the principal. It's been, this is your job, and there's not really been any kind of communication. I don't want to say that the difference is she's not interested. Maybe she doesn't know what to be interested in, but there's definitely a lack of communication there.
Do you think that ultimately has an effect, the involvement of the school leader, do you think that ultimately has an effect on the new teacher?
Oh, absolutely. When I was in Hardeman County, my principal, as I said, would communicate what she would see when she was doing walkthroughs and observations. So I knew what to help the teachers with, but she would use the communication that she and I had when discussing things with the teacher. So that teacher knew that we were all a team. She could talk to the principal. She knew that the principal was going to talk to me, or vice versa. Where in the situation I'm in now, the communication is not there. I don't feel like the teachers feel like they are truly supported. They have me, but the only time the principal seems to be interested in getting involved is when a problem arises, and then it's not more about solutions as it is just talking like who didn't do their job.
As far, like you touched on teachers not feeling supported with the leadership in the school. What role, if any, do you think that can have on a teacher leaving the profession? Because we know that we're losing our new teachers within the first 2 years. 20% of our teachers are leaving the field. So what role do you think that the principals can play in changing that narrative?
I can actually speak from firsthand experience. When I moved to Shelby County, even though I had years of experience under my belt, not a kid, definitely an adult with grown children, had served as an instructional coach, had been out of the classroom for 2 years. So I kind of knew a thing or two about teaching. But however, when I moved to the new school, I did not have that support. My questions weren't answered. I had to find out really quickly that my admin was not there to make me a better teacher, or to even make me fit into the culture there at the school. If it was not for a couple of my colleagues, I probably would have left and not come back.
And you were one coming in with 12 years of experience.
Yes.
So you knew where to look.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
What do you think the struggle is with novice teachers in that same situation?
They don't have the background knowledge. Well, all they get is what they get from the textbook and you know, in their student teaching, and that's set up. I almost feel like it sets them up for failure. It makes it look really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I say it's Pinterest all the way around. Where and then they come to the classrooms in a real school setting, and many of the principals just expect them to be able to do their jobs, and they get frustrated and they get hurt, and then they don't know what to do. It's a panicky feeling knowing that you are responsible for these children's education over the course of the school year, and you yourself are drowning.
Right.
So,
Okay. If there was any piece of advice you could give to a new mentor teacher, what would it be?
I'm gonna stick with be honest. Be very honest with the teachers that you're mentoring. See them for who they are. Look and find strengths and be honest about that. But don't be afraid to have those difficult conversations about areas that need to grow. And I think that's a lot of places, a lot of times where we go wrong as mentors. We don't want to hurt feelings, and it's not that we want to hurt feelings, but that honest communication has to happen. We don't grow if we're just patted on the head and said, good job. We have to know when we made a mistake, how to fix that, the next level to go to.
Right. Okay. How does the system need to change to support better collaboration between the mentors and the novice teachers?
You know, in an ideal situation, a new teacher would co-teach with an experienced teacher. That would be the ideal situation. And with class size, that would benefit everybody involved.
So not just throw them into the classroom on your own, but maybe an even more extensive, like, student teaching.
Absolutely.
Type thing.
That first year needs to be like an internship. where you are co-teaching with an experienced teacher, someone who has proven themselves, both with classroom management, standards mastery. There's, not to put everything on their scores, but to come back and say, yes, their students have shown growth, if not achievement, at least growth, But to have someone that they can kind of mimic and get feedback from when they're teaching and when they're communicating with parents and things like that. It's a big deal. It's a lot thrown out of a new teacher, and I think an extended type of internship would be a better fit for a new teacher.
And knowing that would be ideal, and we don't always get ideal.
Right.
What do you think within the system we have now?
Okay, yes. To answer your question, I feel like the experience that I had at Hardeman County with my principal and my mentees was probably pretty close to perfect as you could get, because when I would sit down with my teachers, there were many times that my principal was there as well. And we formed a unit, we formed a team to work together, and it wasn't about hurting someone, it was about growing someone. So I think the best fit for the district, or any district, when new teachers are coming in, is for that principal to put aside that time. That yes, I'm gonna sit down when you're talking to your mentee, even if it's just once every 2 weeks, just to see that principal and have that principal face-to-face communicating with you, I think would ease a lot of the stress that new teachers feel.
Okay. What behaviors of novice teachers do you think can be counterproductive to your role helping them?
I think the most damaging thing that a new teacher can do is not have the ability to listen. I see it all the time, new teachers who have just graduated and they think they've got all these cutesy bootsy little things that they see it, and it's supposed to work, right? And then they get in the classroom and they don't work, but they don't want to change it because they want this type of classroom, they want this type of system, and not seeing the big picture, that the mentor is there to help you, the mentor is there to kind of save you from those pitfalls, because we have the experience. We know the kids, we know the climate, we know the parents, we know admin, so we kind of have that experience that we're offering to them. And there have been some teachers who just don't want to hear it, just don't want to be open to what works and what doesn't work.
What do you think the most effective way to address that? Like, how would you address those types of things when they come up, when you have a mentee that just won't see past what they think it is supposed to be?
I think in that situation, and I've actually dealt with that in the past, is to have that mentee go into classrooms that do work. That teacher needs to go and observe another teacher, another subject, just any age. The teacher needs to see how good teachers teach. They don't all have all the cute stuff. Sometimes it's just core teaching that they're lacking, and the building relationships. They think if they can pull a card that's gonna keep a child under control. They need to see these teachers that interact with the kids and know the parents' first name and know the brothers and sisters, and so encourage them to build relationships as well.
Okay. Why have you chosen to take that role as a mentor?
Because I didn't have it. I did not have someone when I began teaching. I was even told when I said I don't have a textbook, I don't have anything to teach this class with, I was told by one of the district leaders, well, learn how to teach because you don't always have a textbook. And so I had to scratch and I had to figure things out on my own, and I was self-taught. And so to give back feels good. So someone else doesn't struggle the way I did when I first started teaching is important to me.
We all know that being a mentor teacher can be difficult. But what are some of the benefits that you see come out of it?
It improves my teaching.
Being a mentor
And
improves
being a mentor improves my teaching, because when I go and observe other teachers, I never go into another classroom that I don't pick something up. Whether it is something to do, something to try, an activity or lesson, or it might be something not to do. Make sure you're not doing this, check yourself, but it improves my teaching.
Do you ever share that with the teachers that you?
Oh,
mentor?
absolutely, absolutely. So I've been in classrooms where teachers were doing something really cool that would apply to my English class. I'm like, whew, I just came in for me. And make a note of it and let them know that, you know, that's something that I'm gonna take back to my classroom.
What do you think that does for a novice teacher when they know, when someone's coming into their classroom and makes something, makes a statement like that, like, oh my gosh, you did something that I could use in my classroom. What do you think that does to the confidence level?
I think it builds their confidence. It also builds that community of sharing. You know, we are teachers and we're beg, borrowing, and stealing all the time. And so that opens up that line of, hey, I just found this and I tried this, what do you think? And vice versa. I think it's a great way to build community and build confidence and let that teacher know, yes, you are appreciated, you are valued, I see your skills. Yeah, you may lack somewhere else, but I see your skills.
What are the drawbacks of being a mentor?
It's time consuming. Many times there's no pay and extra pay involved. It can be frustrating. It's more frustrating dealing with the admin side of it than it is dealing with the mentee. Whether or not it's working out the time and things like that, but trying to get admin involved is very, very difficult.
Okay. What's the best thing about the current collaboration you have going on with your mentees?
So the mentees that I work with now I've known them now for a couple of years, and so we have that great relationship. We bounce things off of each other, and we speak. We have a relationship, an honest relationship. They know that they can, shoot me a text, I need help now. Things like that. Things that, maybe a new teacher would not feel comfortable with. But because that's honesty and that trustworthy has been, on the forefront of my relationships with them, they know that they got me anytime. I'm there to help.
So you mentioned that you've been working with them for a couple of years.
Yes.
And a lot of times we see mentor programs that are 1 year or maybe the first semester.
Right.
What's the difference between those short mentoring times as opposed to a longer period of time?
Well, in the first year, when, like, for example, last year was the first year for a couple of the teachers, there was so much thrown at them. They felt like they were just dodging things all the time. Where this year, the relationship is built, they have an understanding of what we're doing, we're just trying to make it better. And so we've seen them grow as teachers. We've seen them grow, we've seen the students grow because they grow.
Do you think that first year is almost, because like you said, so many things are thrown at them, it's one of those things where they don't even know what they don't know?
Exactly. I mean, let's face it, most of the time a new teacher is more worried about being at the copy machine before the teacher who's going to print the book. They're more concerned about having those materials and having those things gathered for the class. And so to throw, here, try this, here, try that, or whatever at them, it just bounces, deflects off of them, Where the second year, they've got that year under the belt and had a summer to think about some of the things that they would like to do different, and then they come in feeling refreshed and they're ready to really communicate their goals.
How long do you think, just in your personal experience, how long do you think the mentoring timeline, what would you think would be the most ideal? Like, if you could just say it's 1 year, it's 2 years, it's 3 years, what do you think would be the most effective?
Probably a 2-year. Again, that first year is like dodging bullets for them, and it's just crazy busy. And they're learning everything about the school and the do's and the don'ts. And then, so if they had another year to really go over their practices with someone, I feel like that would be the most beneficial, a 2-year program.
Do you think that so if the program's 2 years, like officially 2 years, do you think, excuse me, having those 2 years would obviously form strong relationships? And even though it wouldn't be a formal mentoring program, do you think that those mentor-mentee, even without those titles, do you think those relationships would continue?
Oh, absolutely, because once those relationships are built and the mentors and mentees begin that communication process, especially if they teach the same subject area, they're just gonna grow as a community. And so removing the titles, you've built a really strong department, content area department. And so now you've got not just one person that a new teacher can go to, but you've got 2 people that a new teacher can go to.
Okay. Why is it important to have collaboration between the mentor and the novice teacher?
Well, the most obvious reason would be so that the new teacher has a planning partner, if you will, someone who can help them break down standards and assess those standards and making sure that the students are actually mastering what is being taught. But overall, this is where it's really important that we're in the same content. We learn to bring our best to the table. And so what might be a strength for me might not be a strength for someone else, and that person can use it, and vice versa. I have weaknesses. Even though I've been teaching for years and I've mentored and coached, I have weaknesses. And so I'm always looking to other teachers that teach in my content area. So it just builds that ability to, toss ideas back and forth and grow. Both of us grow as teachers.
So is that something you definitely think is lost when we're not mentoring teachers in our same content?
Oh, absolutely. Because I couldn't do that with a math teacher. I couldn't do that with a science teacher. If I'm watching an English teacher or I'm mentoring an English teacher, then, we're both getting things. There's takeaways for all of us.
Okay. How can a strong mentor relationship help improve student achievement and growth?
Well, this is most important. I mean, our students are our products. That's what we're trying to grow and turn out into the world or send on to the next level. So when we grow a mentee, when we grow new teachers, that teacher in turn is growing students. So the best that we can give the new teachers, she's turning around and giving that best to her students. So it's a win-win situation for all of us. And I'm winning because like I said, I'm getting from that teacher as well.
Outside of the classroom and the content area, what are other ways that a mentor teacher can help a new teacher?
I think it's really important to get the new teacher involved in parent communication and school activities. I think a new teacher needs to be involved. Like, they don't want to, and it's a lot more on them, but to be involved with like PTO and just learn the people who are, those parents who are contributing back to the school, learning how to call parents and just have conversations with them. Not necessarily calling and saying your child won't stop talking in class, but hey, I teach Gloria in class and she's just a super kid. That opens a door that, you're gonna find so much more about this child and what this child is capable of. And then when you do have trouble with Gloria, of course, then you can call at any time because parents are ready to hear from you. But the more involved, coming to the football games, coming to the basketball games, and seeing the community, being a part of the community is really important.
Why do you think that's so important?
Because it shows to the community, to the parents, to the students that you care, that you're invested. you know, this is where I am, this is who I am now. And, as when you become a part of that community, then they open their arms and they're more receptive of, positive and negative talk, and helping you help the students be the best that they can be.
What role do you see the principal having in the mentoring process?
You know, I briefly said it before, I really feel like that the principal needs to be a member of that unit, a member of that team. There's only so much that a mentor can do, and that mentee needs to see that principal's face. That mentee needs to be able to sit down with his or her mentor and the principal, and know that that principal cares, truly cares, and truly is invested in that person staying there with them and growing that teacher. I think that a principal that is not involved in that relationship between a mentor and mentee is telling the new teacher that they're not interested. And I know that's harsh to say, but it's just really true, because a new teacher needs to feel like they belong. And who else needs to be there besides the principal?
I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to sit and talk with me about your experiences as a mentor.
You're more than welcome. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
For having me.
Thank you.